Welcome to today's webinar, courtesy of the Kentucky Small Business Development Center right here in Louisville. We're all about hooking you up with free, super secret business coaching and training services. It doesn't matter if you're just dipping your toes in or gearing up for a big expansion. We've got the goods, the tools, and the know-how to help you win. To get the scoop, cruise on over to LouisvilleSmallBusiness.com or hit us up at 502-977-5800. Big thanks for tuning in to today's webinar. Feel free to drop your questions or chat it up with our speaker using the chat feature. Let's dive in.
Hey, welcome, friends. This is Dave Etkin. I'm the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. Thanks for joining us today. Always happy to see everybody. And as always, I'm joined here with my good friend and coworker, Janet Flaw, who will be running things from the mothership at headquarters. So Janet, how are you today?
Doing good, trying to stay safe, I think, just like everyone else.
Yeah, definitely some crazy weather these days, but as always, and this is the first thing we always do, is make sure that everybody can hear and see us, and we're getting out there. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a toolbar, and if you don't, just take your cursor and hover over that. It should pop up for you, and then there you'll see the chat feature. And just click on that and just say hello, tell us where you're joining from, and make sure to let us know that you can hear and see as well. So I'll go ahead and say hello myself. And there, and Jenna said hello. I said hello. Anybody out there? Anybody can hear us? Everybody sees us? Anyone? Hey, Tony, how are you? It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Hey, there's Lawrence, Leslie from Louisville. Awesome. Christopher from Mount Washington. Thank you. Kristen, also from Louisville. Anybody else? Sherry, how are you? Thanks for joining. This is always my favorite part of the day because we get to see where everybody's popping in from. So sometimes we get folks from all over the world, which is great, but looks like it's going to be kind of a tight-knit group today. So there's Shamika, hey, from Louisville. Nice to see you. All right, awesome. All right, so, as we go along today, I'll be watching the chat, and hey, Angelique. And if you have any questions or comments, just put them in the chat there, and we'll get to them whenever we can, maybe during or at the end there. So today, you guys are stuck with me because I'm going to be talking about are you bankable, and are you ready to go look for funding for your business? And there's two kind of flavors of funding for a business. There's what's called equity funding, which is like looking for investors or maybe grants or things like that. We're going to save that topic for another day, but today we're going to talk about if you're going to go to a bank or some other lending institution for money. That's what we're going to focus on today, and what we need to do as entrepreneurs to get ourselves and our business ready for that. So that being said, just a little, that's kind of where we're going to go today. Let me press these buttons here, get things rolling, and get all this up to date here. Hopefully, there we go. Are we looking good, Janet?
Looks good, Dave.
All right. So, and unfortunately, Janet, you're going to have to watch the chat because my chat went away and I can't get it back. There we go. No, I did get it back. Okay, awesome. See, like I said, we are technologically challenged here. But all right, our burning question today is, what do banks want? How can we be bankable? And so hopefully we can spend a few minutes talking about that. And again, this is a good question, a good time to jump in here and get some questions answered if you have any on getting yourself ready. So there's me right there holding the zero. We had our 40th anniversary. I mean, none of us were around 40 years ago, but this is our current team. That's me holding the zero. There's Janet on the left, and Tiffany and Claire, me and Rhonda. We are here as a free service to help you find funding for your business. We are really good at bank loans and putting together loan packages. So jump over to LouisvilleSmallBusiness.com, and at the top you'll see the chat, like a little button that says Coach Connect, and click on that and you can see all of us, our skill sets, things we do well at. You can then just click on book a session with us. You'll be able to see our calendars. You can book a Zoom call with us right there. You don't have to talk to anybody or compare calendars back and forth. You just pick when you want to talk to us and we'll be there waiting for you. And we're always happy to do so. We love doing this kind of work. So don't be a stranger, pop in, say hello, and see what we can do together. All right, off we go. So today we're going to talk about these 5 things basically in and out. And so I don't think it's going to be a full 1-hour session today because unless we get into some discussion, but these are some things that are very important. And I personally have done a ton of business loans. I kind of figured out how what works and what doesn't. And so this is kind of a process that I use personally, and then hopefully you can benefit from this as well. So here we go. First, we need to prepare ourselves first. We really need to look at ourselves kind of holistically. We need to look at the business and prepare that for the process, and then we will probably need to do some necessary research. What are the documentation we need? And then finally, we need to practice a pitch, because this is almost a sales process as well. So let's start with us and doing a self-assessment. And so here is the number one thing that I'm just going to leave this little sentence here, and let's talk about this a little bit, because this is really the nub of the whole thing. And as we go through this today, kind of put yourself in a lender's seat, because a lender is not an investor. They are their business is lending money to make money for their owners in the bank and stockholders and things like that. To do that, they need to minimize things that are risky in getting that money back. So to do that, to minimize that risk, they don't want to be the one holding all the risk. So they want to know, number one, what you're bringing to the deal. And so the first thing to do is really think through, what is that? What am I bringing? Whether it is things like hard assets or cash. Sometimes you really just need to think through on, do you have certain experience? Do you have certain intellectual property, things like that? So the process is preparation for the final pitch, and it's very important to get some paper, or I like to use paper because I think better when I have a pen in my hand, and just list all those things out. And I'll show you a couple of things here in just a minute that we can use for that. But that's number one, is list all the things that you're bringing to the deal. Why you are a good investment for a lender. Now, we have to also look at ourselves, and the first place to start is pull your credit. And any lending institution will do this. There are some that have lesser credit requirements and things, because that's their mission. Others not. There's laws on how things are done as far as credit and how that process works. But the main thing is when you go to make a pitch to a bank or a lender of any kind, there should be no surprises. You should be able to answer all the questions before those people ask you those questions. That is my goal in our prep to you. So number one, check your credit. Now you can do it a number of ways. You can, there's, freecredit.com and all those things like that. Now, they do give you some credit score numbers, but they're not the ones that banks use often. So you actually want to go to the source that the banks use, and there's those 3 credit agencies. There's Equifax, Experian, and one other that I just kind of forgot for the moment. But you are by law allowed to get a free credit report from each one of them each year. And the way you do that is you go to annualcreditreport.com, and that is It's free. It is the aggregate between the three agencies. I think they fund that. And then you can request a free credit report from those agencies once each year. Or you can just give them a call and say, I want to, I want a free credit report. Or if you're pretty old school, you can go to annualcreditreport.com and download the annual credit report request form, and then mail the completed form to the annual credit report request service in Atlanta, Georgia, and mail that off. Now, as I said, you are allowed one free credit report from these companies each year. So here's a little trick to keep in mind. There's 3 of them, and you don't have to request one at the same time, a credit report from each one at the same time. You can spread it out. So conceivably, you could request one today from one, and then 4 months from now, you could request another one from another credit report agency. And so every 4 months you can get a new one. So you would be continuously refreshing these credit reports. So why that is important, and here's the crazy thing about banks and credit. So if I was going to buy a new car, I would go to one car lot, let's say, and I would test drive a few, talk to some folks. Maybe I go to another one, test drive a few and check it out. And maybe I go online and check out cars.com and do some different things like that. And I do those things because I'm a good consumer and I want to get the best deal for myself. The weird thing about loans and credit is if I did that and make application to a bank to see what I would get each time, that actually degrades my credit. So each time I apply at a bank and they pull my credit report goes down. There's some logic behind it, but again, being a good consumer, not so much. And it's not good for you. So that's why it's important to have these credit reports, because when you go to a bank, you don't always want to just go to one bank. You should shop around. You are a good consumer. So if you have your credit report with you and it's pretty fresh and you make your pitch, you can give them this report. You say, I just pulled this. It's a couple weeks old. You can use this to make a credit decision. But if I choose to apply with you, then you can pull fresh credit, as per your rules and stuff. So then that means even though you may have visited and talked to and sort of applied to 3 or 4 different banks, you actually had one credit pull, so that didn't affect your credit. So that's kind of a thing to keep in mind. It's kind of crazy how that all works, but that's what we got to live with at the moment. But the other thing that is important to know is, there's mistakes on your credit report, and where they come from, who knows, but it gives you an opportunity to fix those credit reports. You can, dispute different charges or take care of them or whatever. Often if your credit is low for whatever reason, that also gives you the opportunity to maybe find a credit repair service that can help you, or some other folks that can help you, and get your credit up to where it needs to be. On any type of business loan, it needs to be probably on the low end, maybe 625, between 625 and 650 is kind of on the low end of that. But the idea is this actually happened to me. So I'll share this story. I went to had a restaurant. It was doing very well. I wanted to open another one, and I found another location. The bank that I banked at, went and talked to them, and they pulled my credit, and they said, "We're sorry, we can't help you because you had a federal tax lien on your credit report," which I had no idea what that was, but evidently I had something disallowed on my tax return, which wasn't much, and then they were sending letters to my house, but I had moved, and so I had no idea that was there, and so, but it gave me the opportunity to do something about it, but that had already kind of caused problems with that bank, so I did have to go to a different bank, and I, when I started to make my pitch, I was very honest. I said, when you look at my credit report, and here it is, this is what you'll see, and this is what happened. and this is what I'm doing about it. And so the important thing is when you're doing these pitches with lenders is no surprises. So always know what's on there. You don't want to have that conversation where they call you up and start asking those questions like that. You want to already disclose it and say what's going on with it or why it happened. I mean, sometimes things happen to people, and it doesn't mean you're a bad credit risk. Perhaps you you got cancer, and you, for whatever reason, your insurance wouldn't pay for all of it, and you ran up hundreds of thousands of dollars bills, and you couldn't pay, and you were sick for a long time, and you just had to file personal bankruptcy to kind of wipe that out. And just as an aside, the number one reason for personal bankruptcy is medical debt, oddly enough. And so that doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means something bad happened to you and you had to get out of it. So just be in mind, bear in mind that, no surprises, understand what's going on. The questions will come up. They will find out. You can't hide anything from them. They have all the resources to check things out. So do that. Know what the landscape is. So next, we want to think about ourselves from our skill standpoint and really update our resume, because a resume should be part of your business plan. There's an old saying that we used to say in the tech equity raise biz, is like investors bet on the jockey, not on the horse. So what they're saying is that they will bet on the person managing the business more so sometimes than the idea, because they know that someone with a lot of experience and drive and past success has a better chance of taking a medium deal to success, as opposed to someone that is not so great manager taking a great deal to success. So that's why it's important to really understand what is, what your personal assessment is, understand what your skills are, update your resume so you can, talk about that. And this is all preparation before what the final bullet was, the pitch. So these type of exercises help you clarify your thinking and make sure you have all your talking points in order. There's nothing worse than coming out of a meeting and then thinking of 10 things you wish you would have said, and now it's done. You can't go back. So that's why it's important to go through these things. Sometimes it seems silly, but they actually work. So let's think about this skills assessment. So we'll send these slides out to you guys and just print this one and the next one out, and think through these things. So the idea is, and put some of these on your own. You're trying to think of all the things that you have, all the skills and assets that you can bring to bear to this deal. So in the second column, we have what we have and what we can use it for. So how much cash do you have? How much credit can you get? What relationships? Who do you know? What special knowledge? What special skills? Do you have people? What unique intellectual property do you have, or processes, or employees, or real estate? What else? Anything else? These are super important to kind of have in your back pocket as you talk and make a pitch. What are your personal strengths? What are you really good at? And if you're not, how can you compensate for it? Can you sell? Can you promote? Can you persuade? So, you're in a bank meeting and you're looking at your projections for sales, and they say these seem pretty optimistic. And you say, well, I can really sell. I'm a great salesperson. I have this type of success behind me, and I can really do this. So this is, categorizing the thing as preparing yourself for these questions that you're naturally going to get. It's really important to really think through these things and be ready for those questions, because they will come. So yeah. Does that make sense, everybody? Just give me a yes out there in the chat if I'm talking to you guys. Anybody out there still? All right. Okay. Perfect. All right. So number one, what are we going to do? We're looking at ourselves. We pull our credit. We understand what we're bringing to the deal. You are looking at your skills and things. Let's see, Shannon. Hey, Shannon. Um, credit repair agency. Yeah, Shannon asked about a credit repair agency and if I know of any. Um, well, personally, I don't. There's a few around town. I really need to get that together, but so I don't know. I really don't know of any at the moment. I know the Louisville Urban League provides that to some of their clients, but I don't know who they use or whatever at this time. So, but yeah, that's important to do. But step one again is pull a credit report so you know what's on there, and then do whatever you can to mitigate that. All right. What happened there? There we go. All right. Next, we got to get it organized because we are required to produce a lot of documents for any type of loan or lending. So we need, before we even go talk to anybody, we need to be organized. We need to be ready to go. So personally, we need 3 years of personal tax return. Sometimes people get behind. Now's the time to get things all up to date. And have those ready. Now, what I like to do is, you'll need to prepare a business plan if you're doing a startup or even an existing business whenever you're borrowing money. And we'll talk a little bit about that, but I like to include my personal tax returns in with the business plan. They're going to ask for it. So my suggestion is have everything ready to go and included before they even ask. I think it really gets kind of annoying to a loan officer is like you go make a pitch with your business plan and then he gives you a list of things that you have to bring, and then you have to go and come back another day and go through all that other stuff. But you know what he's going to ask. I mean, I can tell you exactly what they're going to ask for, and just have that included in your business plan. There's some issues about email and stuff around. There's some ways around that, and I know everybody doesn't need me to tell them how to do it because I know but just include everything in there. You also need a personal financial statement, and this is every bank will ask for this. They'll have their own form with their logo on the top and stuff. And so what I generally do is I can send this to you too. I'll show you here in just a second, but kind of Excel spreadsheet where you can do one, now. And so you can include it in your business plan with your tax returns, but sometimes they might say, well, we need it on our official logo personal financial statement pad, but you've already got the information together. It makes it real quick and easy to fill that out for them. So let's take a look at this one here. And this is just an Excel spreadsheet with some formulas in it. And a personal financial statement is nothing more than a balance sheet for you. What do you own? What do you owe? Where do you make money? Where does the money come from? So here is the first page of this, the first tab. And so on the left-hand side, this is kind of the balance sheet part of it. So the assets are just that, here's our checking accounts, CDs, securities, any notes receivable, personal property, retirement, real estate, stock, anything like that. And then down below here is the liabilities. So to get assets, you generally have to have some sort of liability often to get it. So you have credit cards or notes payable, maybe you owe some taxes, real estate mortgages, whatever. Just kind of list them all there. The way this thing works, let me back up. So those things get listed there, but on the subsequent tabs, they roll up to this where there's more detail for the bank. Over on the right-hand side over here, this is our income detail. So maybe right now you have a salary or maybe get some dividends from some stock you own, or maybe you own a rental property, just however else you make money. Maybe you have a little side gig business, whatever it is. So here you would just put in a how much per month, and it would calculate your annual cash flow for that. Here's kind of a rub that a lot of people face is that, yeah, I've got a salary now. I'm going to start this business, and if I dab in it full time, that salary may go away because I might have to spend more time with the business. So that's the other part of this coin, because then in your business plan, you have to really show how you are going to support yourself, and still pay your personal obligations, while not having a salary and working in the business full time. So that's something to think about. And then they do want to know your monthly expenses. So what do you pay for LG&E or insurance? All those things, you just list those down there. So let's pop down to the next page, and this is where you get into the asset detail. And you fill these little things out, and then it feeds up into that top page as the summary page. So list any stocks or investments you have, or contracts, or real estate you own. So any bank, like I said, is looking for your financial state at any given time. And then who do you owe? List all your credit cards and how much you owe, and do you owe anybody on like private loans or mortgage real estate? And then yeah, so those are all part of the personal financial statement. And it's part of the bank's evaluation of your credit worthiness. And what they use is what we call the 6 C's of credit. This is what a bank will look at to evaluate you and your deal. So let's pop through these here very quickly. So the first C, and some of these will overlap a little bit with what we just talked about, but the first C is character. So anyone have any questions about that personal financial statement? Give me a no. Just make sure you're not sleeping out there. All right. Thanks, Chris. All right. Okay. Great. I'm glad you guys are awake. The first C is character, and naturally it's that. People want to the banks want to do business with people that are ethical and that they can trust for the most part. And that's where this whole credit discussion comes in. They generally have found that if someone is, for the most part, never pays their bills, then they won't pay them in the future either. So let's see. Leslie asks, what if you don't own much? Well, that is whenever you're starting. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, people start out with very little, and you got to start somewhere. And again, you can help support that by maybe adding partners or other things that that could kind of support that. So yeah, that's kind of a rub that sometimes that happens. People have a hard time coming over that. But again, nothing's impossible. The main thing is just being persistent, and you'll learn as you go along. So, but back to character. Character basically says that banks want to do business with people that are ethical, and so that's why it's important to pull your credit so you know what's going on, that you can speak to that anything on there and explain it away. You can also it also kind of speaks to another side of it is that you if you're gonna borrow money from a bank or even make an investor pitch, um, it's important to look the part. I mean, if you're going to make a pitch to someone, I mean, dress professionally, do the preparation we talked about earlier, and if you're going to be a business owner, look the part of that business owner. So that's part of talking about your character. Always be on time. That also says a lot about character too. Being late for a pitch meeting is a super no-no. So make sure you kind of keep that in mind. The next C is capacity. So when you're, borrowing money for your loan, either for your startup or to grow a business, what you're doing with that money has to generate enough money or a return on investment to pay it back. It's not an investment that's at risk that you don't have to worry about. It is an obligation that has to be paid back. So can the business generate enough cash to pay it back? This is a simple thing to do. The third C is capital. Capital is the amount of money or assets that you're putting in the deal. Like I said, banks don't want to be the only one that has cash at risk. They want other people who's in the deal that are actually borrowing the money to have something at risk. So they will, you can propose just like on a real estate purchase or when someone buys the house, that bank still doesn't want to have 100% finance or have all the money in the deal. They'll require some sort of down payment, and it's no difference for a business loan. Other things that can be used for capital that you can kind of bake into the deal, or maybe you have hard assets that you bring into the deal, like vehicles to use in the business, or trucks or things like that. Or if you are leasing a space and the landlord is going to provide a tenant improvement allowance, so that's actually cash in the deal too. So that's sort of a capital infusion as well as part of the total deal. So that's what that C is. The fourth C is collateral. We've all heard this term a million times, but collateral is nothing other than a secondary repayment source. So the lender wants to know that there's another way to get money back if something happens with the business. So they want to be able to look at your assets to see if there are things that they can seize and sell and generate cash to pay their loan back. And honestly, collateral is very important. It's secondary to the last C, but I'll hold that for then. But collateral is it comes in different flavors because things of value, those assets aren't whatever you bought it for often doesn't equal what its collateral value is. So if I have cash, the collateral value of cash, because it's cash, so it's 100%. But the old adage, like when you drive a new car off the lot, as soon as it hits the street, it's worth 20% less, and it's the same with any other asset. So some things are worth more for collateral than others, and it kind of depends on how hard or valuable they are, or how hard they are to sell it, in a kind of a stressful situation. So real estate, that always has a good high value. Some equipment may or may not, but like restaurant equipment, for example, that's a great one. You buy it for a lot when it's new, and in minutes it's worth half of what it was when you bought it. So not so much. Next C is conditions, and there's two parts to this. Number one, and the main one is like, are the economic conditions favorable to whatever it is you're going to do? So sometimes things that from a big scale, from a macro scale, in the middle of a recession, maybe it's not the right time to launch a business, or maybe you want to launch a restaurant, and the city that you want to launch in has way too many restaurants and everybody's struggling. So, banks will look at those kind of conditions. And then the other part of this is the way you structure the deal is a condition that can help you be successful or cause problems with the business. So here's an example. If I was going to open a restaurant and I needed to borrow $100,000, I would go to one bank, let's say, and they said, yes, we'll lend you the 100,000 and we'll lend it to you at 5% over 3 years. That means, I'm going to pay them 5% interest and I have to pay it all back in 3 years. Then I go to another bank because I'm a good consumer and they say, yeah, we'll lend you the $100,000 at 5%. You can pay it back over 15 years. So same loan, same interest rate, but the term drastically changed the condition that those terms would have on my business. So in the first example, the first bank, the 3-year term means I'd be paying almost $35,000 a year to pay it back, to get that loan paid off in 3 years. Over 15 years, I pay very, very little. So the effect on my cash flow is massive. So the conditions are very important there. And then lastly, cash flow is king. This is where your business plan comes in because you really have to demonstrate how your business will be able to make those monthly debt service coverage, each month, keep the bank paid and everybody happy. So this is very difficult to do, and this is when you put your business plan together. You'll need some financial projections in the back. This is something we're really good at. We'd be happy to help you. You can just go to LouisvilleSmallBusiness.com and click on Coach Connect there at the top, and we'd be happy to help you put all that together. So that's what we do. Take advantage of that. So any questions about the C's there? Anyone? Give me a no. Give me a no. I know you're out there. Any questions? Yes? No? No? All right. You guys are a quiet bunch, but thanks for the no's. I appreciate that. What services? Tony. Oh, Leslie. Oh, what services did you say we provide? Okay, Leslie. So yeah, we're really good at putting financial projections together for your business plan. And we have a great template that's kind of proprietary. We can help you with it. And also, we bake in the cash flow projection so you can see where there might be a monthly shortfall or how you can kind of change things around to make that work out for you. And again, this is something the bank is going to really drill down into, and so we can help you with that. All right. Okay. Which leads us to the business plan. And I'm not going to go into this very much because in a couple of weeks, we will have a more in-depth discussion on business plans. And I don't want to steal anybody's thunder on the business plan, but it's next. But this is the basic outline of a business plan. I'm just going to talk about it just for a couple seconds here. It just starts with the executive summary, and we write that last because it summarizes everything about the business. And if you think about a business plan in this simple outline, it's just telling a story. It's planning your business. You're thinking about how you're going to get things done and put this business together, or how you're going to grow your existing business. But for the most part, it's a sales tool. You're just telling a story about how things happen. The summary is like, this is it. This is what we do. The market, this is the opportunity. Here's what we have. Here's what we're selling. The marketing strategy, how we talk to our customers and get them to come and buy from us. The management operation, who does what, how we take care of our customers, and then our financial data, our projections, the financial projections where we, for lack of a better term, we predict the future of what we think is going to happen based on some things we call critical assumptions. And then lastly, you just add the things that I talked about in the beginning, the supporting documents, contracts, letters of intent for your lease, any research, your tax return, your personal financial statement. If you have intellectual property, any patents or things like that, you would include all those things so that people know they're there. But the other thing about putting your business plan together, and remember this, is that there's two places in this business plan when you go to a bank, you want to ask for the money. And number one is in the executive summary. So in the executive summary, you would have different little bullet points like, here's what we do, here's the guys, here's our opportunity, stuff like that. And you want to say, the purpose is we are seeking $100,000 for our restaurant, and we would like to get 5% over 15 years or whatever. So, you may not get those terms, but put a stake in the ground, put it out there. There's nothing more frustrating to a lending officer when, someone sits down in front of them and says they'd like to get a business loan, and the lending officer is how much, and that person, the borrower, says, well, I'm not exactly sure, we're still thinking about it. Well, that doesn't really project some confidence to the bank that you know what you're doing. So figure out what you need, and then put it in the executive summary. Secondly, it goes into the financial projections. So we'll look at this in a second, but you have what's called a sources and uses table, and that's where's the money coming from? What are we going to use it for? So there's two places where you ask for the money and put it in your business plan. So yes, it's a plan. It's a sales tool. This is what we want. Here's our sales document to get that money. So market analysis also is probably the top thing. And this is a big mistake that we see all the time is people think that a great idea is bankable. A great idea is will make you successful, and that's not so. You really have to test and prove to anyone that there is a market and a demand for your product and service, and you have to do that with some research. And it's hard. It's not fun. I don't like it, but you got to do it. Sometimes there's two ways to do this. You can do what is called like external analysis. That's where you go to the Louisville Free Public Library. They have a ton of industry databases. You can look for industry trends on different things, and use that data to kind of get an idea of where your market, or if there's an opportunity out there. You can look and list all the competitors that might be doing something similar to what you're doing, and compare the different offerings they have and how they do things, and look for opportunities there, and use that as a way to vet your idea. The better way to do it, I think, especially in smaller ventures, is kind of the hands-on thing. Like you can do personal surveys or things like that, or focus groups, observation. There is a process that I listed here called customer discovery process, and it is when you really actually talk to potential customers. And if you're doing a startup, I would think about it this way. You're interested in the startup generally because there was a problem or something you saw, or the problem you saw, or you had a problem that you wished was already solved, and then you looked for a solution you couldn't find, and you thought, well, I've got to do this myself. Chances are, if you have the problem, somebody else has the problem. Or chances are, if you are really interested in something, other people have that same interest, and you can build a niche that way. The thing is finding them. And the customer discovery process boils down to this: interviewing a bunch of people, asking them the questions about this, almost like a survey, but it's more of an interview process. And then lastly, and most importantly, the test. Can you get someone to pay you for what you're selling, even though it might not be totally finished, or maybe you don't even have it? But if you can get somebody to pay you, other than your mom, because she'll buy whatever you have, but if you can get a total stranger to pay you, then you have something of value. There's someone out there that will pay you, then it's validated. So if I was going to build some online course, perhaps I could interview a bunch of people or several people, or send something out to a list and say, I've got this great course coming up. I think it'll help you a lot. And if you're interested, we only have a few openings. We'll take a little deposit today just to hold your space. If you can get somebody to give you that deposit, well, then you've kind of validated that there's a demand, for whatever you're doing. There's also another thing that this is another topic for another day, but you can do a little research on this. There's a whole process called the customer funded business, where you use this sort of process to fund your business as opposed to going to a bank or other lender. So it's almost like when you get a contractor to come to your house or something, and they're going to do a bunch of work for you. They always ask for a deposit up front. Well, they use that to buy materials or get started. So you are actually funding them to do the work for you. So that's turned you into the customer funder there. So that's just some things to think about. And then lastly is the hard part is the pitch, is like actually going to the bank. And here's some questions that the bankers are thinking about, and when they take it to the loan committee, and this is what they'll, the process is the loan officer will go to the loan committee, and these committee members will look at your documents and stuff, and then they will ask these questions generally. There could be more, could be less, but they want to know, have you been a customer before? Not critical, but it's good to know. And if so, do you have a good track record? And how much money are you borrowing versus what the bank is asked to borrow? Just what we talked about, the capital and the contribution. What does the cash flow look like? Are there hidden constraints on profitability? Especially in an existing business, sometimes there's obligations to the business that cut into profitability. Like maybe there is a employee buyout contract that has to be paid each month, or there is a preferred dividend to some owner that has to get paid regardless. Or there's an owner that just pays themselves crazily high salary and they like that and they don't want to come off of it. That constrains profitability and the ability to repay that loan. Is there any litigation out there that they haven't disclosed? What does the collateral look like? Is there anything else out there that they can attach? So these are all questions that keep in mind. And then know what you need. This goes back to a ton of stuff we talked about. So make a table like this. This is the uses of the cash. Start here. Know how much you need. So in this example, we're going to purchase a building for 150. We're going to do some renovations for 30. We've got to buy equipment for 15. We need our starting inventory for 8,500, and we need working capital. Always include that. Working capital is some amount of money to get you between opening day and when you start collecting payments. Sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 60. 60 is a good rule of thumb. So that's like 60 days of operating expenses. Often, you don't want to go way too high because banks won't fund that. But 2 months is pretty decent. Then where's that money going to come from? We add this part. We're going to invest personally 25,000. Talk to some friends and family. They're going to invest 50, and then the bank agrees to borrow or lend us that amount. So those two have to balance out. It's almost like a balance sheet, but it's what we call sources and uses. Any questions on that? All right. Okay, you guys are a quiet bunch, but what? There we go. All right. And then you've done your business plan, figure out what start with your 30-second pitch. And this is kind of a formula that I like to use because it kind of bakes in a lot of different things from your business plan that will be helpful. So it goes like this. First, we talk about a target customer, so we go, our target prospect has, what is the problem we're solving? And then we describe that, usually they try to solve that problem by this, and then it doesn't work because of this. And what we do is this. So, for example, a CPA, let's just say you were at a networking event and you met someone and you said, what do you do? And they go, well, we're a CPA. Well, that's great. That doesn't really say anything. That doesn't elicit any more conversation. Same way with your pitch at a bank or a lender. You want to really get them excited about what you do. So, let's say that Sometimes accountants and CPAs, they're great at what they do. They're smart, they're highly trained, but they have a problem engaging with their customers in such a way that their customers can understand all the valuable information that they're giving them. So let's just say I'm going to provide a service where I take that information and I use it to as a go-between between the CPA and the customer, that I can give that information so that it's very valuable to the customer. So using this example, this formula, I would say, you ask me, what do you do, Dave? I would say, you know how accountants and CPAs are really good at producing tax returns and financial statements, but they're horrible at explaining them to business owners. Usually they try to solve it by sending them a big, giant, wordy report that no one reads. So what I do is provide experts that can interpret the information for the business owner into usable information for the CPA. So that's quite a bit different. I touched on all those different points there. So the practice the pitch, you can use this formula. It's kind of great to the point. I would use the formula, just kind of fill it out, and then play with it a little bit, make it your own. But this is a great place to start. And yeah, so that's basically being bankable and getting to where you're basically ready. There's my contact info there if you'd like to get a shout out to me, or you can go to louisvillesmallbusiness.com and click on one of our chat with us links, and we'll be happy to help you out. Any questions or comments out there? Thanks, Christopher. Appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, hey, Lawrence. How are you? Great to see you. I saw you in Starbucks the other day, but I couldn't get your attention. Thank you, Shamika. Yeah, I was over at your Starbucks. I think it was on Sunday morning. Yeah. Leslie, can I help with coming up with the pitch? Sure. I'd be happy to help you. Go to louisvillesmallbusiness.com. Tiffany's really good at that too. Well, everybody's actually good at it, really. But yeah. Actually, a good thing to do is, maybe chat with all of us at least once, because everybody has a different way of doing things, especially on these business plans, and you can pick up a little bit from everybody. Any other questions? Yeah. Right. Well, let's see. All right, Lawrence, I appreciate it. Yeah, I see you. Okay, good. Yeah, you're on my calendar. Great. Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments. Okay, Janet, anything else that I missed?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that, the rest of the month of April, we're going to be focusing on business plans. So next week, Claire is going to be presenting for us. She's going to talk about the narrative part of writing the business plan. The following week, Rhonda is going to be with us. She's going to be talking about putting those numbers together, which is a critical part for your business plan. And at the end of the month, Tiffany will be joining us, and she'll be talking about all the options in actually finding the money for your business. So throughout the rest of the month, join us. We'll take the last Tuesday off for Derby week, but get signed up and join us throughout the rest of the month.
Yeah. And remember, as you go through each week here, and you start working on your business plan, remember, know what you're asking for, know what the amount of money you need, and then put it in your business plan. This is a loan proposal. We are proposing to borrow or get some sort of funding, so make sure you do that. So, all right. Well, I think we'll call it a day today. It's almost top of the hour, and I really appreciate everybody joining today. Thanks for taking time out of your busy Tuesday to spend a little time with us. And Janet, thanks as always, for driving the mothership for us.
Sure thing, Dave.
Okay. All right. And we'll see you next Tuesday for another one. And again, LouisvilleSmallBusiness.com. And hope to see you soon. Bye, guys.